All right. Let's see what is compound interest. Compound interest is described as interest on interest. Unlike simple interest, which is calculated on the principal, compound interest adds the interest earned back to the principal. So let's understand the meaning of this line with an example. So I'll take principal as 100 rupees. Let's say the number of years is 3 years and the rate of interest is 10%. I will use a table to understand this example. Okay, so I've written principal, number of years, rate of interest, interest, and amount. This interest is the interest for a particular year or a specific year, particular year interest. And this is a combined interest, combined years interest. Okay. Now, let me draw a table. So the principal is 100 rupees. We are talking about the first year now. The rate of interest is 10%. So how will you calculate the interest? Interest is equal to R percentage of P, right? So 10% of 100 is how much? 10% of 100 is 10 rupees. So interest for that particular, the first year interest is 10 rupees. What is the combined interest? So far, it is just first year, so 10 rupees. Whatever is a particular year interest, that is the combined interest. Next, amount. Amount is what? Amount is principal plus interest. So this plus this will be the amount. So 100 plus 10 rupees, 110 rupees is the amount. So if you are borrowing 100 rupees on a compound interest at a rate of interest of 10%, then after 1 year, you have to return back 110 rupees to the lender. Okay? Now, for the second year, what will happen? So second year, the principal will be the amount of the previous year. Okay? If you have not returned back the money after first year, then second year principal amount will be the amount of the first year. Now we are talking about second year too. Rate of interest is 10%. What's the interest for that second year? That's specific year. So we are talking about 10% of what? 10% of 110 rupees. 10% of 110 is how much? 11 rupees. And what is the combined interest so far? The first year interest plus second year interest. How much is that? 21 rupees. And what is the amount? Amount is, like we said, principal plus interest. So it is 121 rupees. So if you're borrowing money from someone at a compound interest rate of 10%, and if you want to return back the money after second year, if you have borrowed 100 rupees and you want to return back after second year, then you will return how much? You'll return 121 rupees to the lender. Now, third year, again, if you are not returning after second year, the third year principal amount will be 121. The amount generated in the previous year will be the principal for this year. We are talking about third year. The rate of interest is 10%. So what is 10% of 121? 12.1 rupees. What's the combined interest so far? 10 plus 11 plus 12.1. How much is that? 33.1 rupees. What is the amount? Amount is principal plus interest. 100 plus 33.1, which is 133.1 rupees. So that's why the line says that unlike simple interest, which is calculated only on the principal, compound interest adds the interest earned back to the principal. Okay? Now, there are two observations that you can make here, and we will get to the formula. We'll see what's the formula for the compound interest. But before that, let's see two observations that we can make here. The first observation is that the compound interest for specific years or particular years compound interest is in GP. You see, it was 10 rupees, then it became 11, it became 12.1. So if you divide 11 by 10 or you divide 12.1 by 11, you'll get a common ratio of 1.1. Yeah, you'll get a common ratio of 1.1. So the specific year or the particular year interest is in GB. The second observation that I make here is that the amounts are also in GB. So from 100 rupees principal, it is becoming 110 rupees, then it is becoming 121 rupees, and then it is becoming 133.1 rupees. So if you divide 110 by 100, you will get common ratio, which is 1.1. Or you divide 121 by 110, you get the common ratio as 1.1, right? So these are the two observations that I'm making. One is that the compound interest for particular years is in in geometric progression, and also the amounts are in geometric progression in the compound interest concept. Okay. Now let's come to the formula. So to get the formula, what I'll do is I'll write that second observation again. That the amounts, what were the amounts? From 100 rupees, it became 110. From 110, it became 121. From 121, it became 133.1. Right? What was the common ratio? 1.1. Now, if you observe this, the common ratio part, you will notice that the common ratio is nothing but it is 1 plus R by 100. What is R? R is the common ratio. So if you see in the example that I have taken, because I have taken the common ratio, because I have taken the rate of interest as 10%, the common ratio has become 1.1, which is 1 plus 10 by 100. Let's say if I would have taken the common ratio as, if I would have taken the rate of interest as 20%, then the common ratio would have become 1.2. So the common ratio is nothing but 1 plus R by 100. Okay. Now, every time you multiply 1 plus R by 100 to the principal, you are getting the amount for that particular year. I repeat, if you're multiplying this common ratio to the principal, you will get what? You will get the amount. So can I say that the amount is equal to principal into 1 plus R by 100? And if you're multiplying this 1 plus R by 100 one time, you are getting for the first year. You multiply it two times, you'll get for the second year. You multiply three times, you'll get for the third year. So can I say it is 1 plus R by 100 to the power of n? That's the formula for calculating amount, right? So if you are told that the interest is compound interest and you need to calculate the amount, then this is the formula. A is equal to principal into 1 plus rate of interest by 100 to the power of n. And if you want to calculate the interest will be is equal to what? The amount minus principal. So can I say 1 plus R by 100 to the power of n minus p? That's the formula for compound interest. Okay. So these are the two formulas that are there in the compound interest concept. And also you should know that the compound interest for specific years and the amounts are in GP in the compound interest topic. Let's see a question on this. The question is that a certain amount or a certain principal is invested at a compound interest rate of 15%. So this is the rate of interest. If the interest earned during the third year amounts to 1380 rupees, determine the difference between the interest accrued in the first year and that accrued in the second year. So he has given the rate of interest, which is good, 15%. And is saying that the interest earned during the third year amounts to 1380. So this is the interest for that specific year, third year. How much is that? 1380 rupees. And what he wants you to find? He wants you to find the difference between the interest accrued in the second year and the interest accrued in the first year. That's what he wants you to find. Okay. Now you know that, or we already discussed that the compound interest for specific years are always in GP when it comes to compound interest topic, right? So can I say that CI1, if you multiply it with the common ratio, and what is the common ratio? The common ratio will be 1 plus R by 100. That is 1.15. Yes or no? So if I multiply the compound interest for the first year into 1.15, I'll get the compound interest for the second year. If I multiply the compound interest for the second year with 1.15, then I'll get the compound interest of the third year, which is nothing but 1380 rupees given in the question. So that makes my job easy. Can I not find the compound interest for the second year? Compound interest for the second year will be what? It will be 1380 by 1.15. Let's see how much it is. So if I do 1380 by 1.15, I'm getting 1200. So the compound interest for the second year is how much? 1200 rupees. And what is the compound interest for the first year? First year compound interest will be how much? 1200 by 1.15. Compound interest for second year by the common ratio. So how much is that? 1.15. If I do, I'm getting 143, sorry, 1043, 1043.47. And he's asking us the difference between the compound interest for the second year minus first year. If I do that, 1200 minus 143.47, I'm getting the answer as rupees 156.52. That's the answer for this question. ठीक है ना? Make sense?